welcome to Tell Me Your Story. Here we go again, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Real Impact Daily Inspiration Series here on Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for New World, with yours truly, Richard Dugan, Reverend Dr. D, and Dennis Henson, author of Real Impact Daily Inspiration. Dennis, welcome back, and boy, have we got a good story for them today.
Well, thank you, Richard. It's always good to be here. I really appreciate you having me.
You know, the song that comes to mind on this particular story is one by Frank Sinatra called Fly Away. That's not the name of the story, folks. It's basically having to do with getting Southwest Airlines off the ground.
Getting Southwest off the ground. In the mid-1960s, an ex-state Supreme Court Justice, Herb Kelleher, moved to Texas to start a new business or a law firm. Not your typical entrepreneur, Herb was a fun-loving, chain-smoking, hard-drinking, Harley-driving New Jersey Yankee. One of his law clients, Texas business tycoon Rollin King, and his banker, John Parker, also wanted to start a new company. They were looking for something big and different when Rollin came up with starting an airline. He visualized a carrier inexpensively flying passengers to cities in the southwestern United States. But Parker wasn't sold. Start a new airline? Have you lost your mind? Although when Rollin said, I believe I know someone that might be just crazy enough to take on something so unusual, John relented. So a meeting was arranged with Kelleher at a bar to discuss their plan. At the meeting, legend has it, Rollin sketched out his ideas for a different kind of airline on a cocktail napkin. King's appraisal of Kelleher was correct, and the plan intrigued the jurist. A short time later, the three set out to achieve the improbable with Herb in the cockpit. Here are only some of the things Kelleher faced on his first day in his new position. In addition to all the usual business startup issues, a myriad of additional challenges awaited him, including the airline industry was overly regulated and highly unionized. There were already 3 regional airlines serving the Southwest United States and 3 times that many national carriers. Herb's to-do list included finding space at already crowded airports, dealing with routine restrictions, and attaining permission to take to the air from the U.S. government. Government permissions meant dealing with politicians and national and state regulations. Add to that the tremendous costs of purchasing a fleet of safety-rated passenger airliners, storing the fleet, maintenance facilities, jet fuel, and the salaries of highly trained, safety-rated mechanics and pilots. Unintimidated, Herb took over the operation and started making decisions. First, he limited flights to inside Texas to avoid federal Civil Aeronautics Board price controls and market regulations, and to give Southwest the freedom to undercut competitors' prices. It was never Herb's plan to keep the airline restricted to Texas. He secretly dreamed of building Southwest into a primary carrier. But before he could hope to achieve that dream, he first needed to get Southwest planes in the air. Yet that turned out to be a more significant challenge than he could have possibly imagined. By 1967, Kelleher had put all the pieces together and the brand new Southwest Airlines fleet was ready to fly. However, that was also when Herb's real problems began. The second Southwest Airlines took shape, it was buried in lawsuits initiated by competitors, Braniff, Continental, and Texas International Airlines. Kelleher took on their challenges and met their highly paid attorneys countless times in court. The battles were long, arduous, and very expensive. With the entire air transportation industry whispering, shaking their heads, and laughing, Herb stood firm despite their reservations. Who do they think they are, trying to start a new airline without any experience? For 4 excruciating years, Herb personally fought battle after battle. His quest finally reached a climax when he presented Southwest's case before the United States Supreme Court. The war was won, but Southwest's passenger fleet had been sitting empty and unable to make a flight for 4 years. By the time they finally received permission to take to the air, their fleet was reduced to 4 Boeing 737s. Yet with all the roadblocks out of the way, Herb took the airline public, and in June 1971, 650,000 shares were offered at approximately $11 a share. Although the stock's proceeds provided the airline some needed working capital, most of it went to pay the remaining legal expenses. For the next 2 years, Southwest struggled to even exist. And by 1973, the tiny airline was on the verge of collapse. But Herb sold one of the big jets rather than give in or lay off a single employee. Then he launched the uphill climb that would make him the talk of the airline industry for decades. But this time, there would be no laughing. First, he instituted an unimaginable 15-minute gate turnaround. Then, in an unheard-of move, he convinced his flight crews to help clean and service the planes between flights, which allowed them back in the air much faster. Planes are only profitable when they're in the air, Herb Kelleher. But Herb was only getting started. In one of the most masterful strokes of genius the airline industry had ever witnessed, Kelleher initiated Southwest Cargo. Now, Southwest planes carried passengers and paid cargo below, bringing in almost twice the revenue. With Southwest profits on the rise, Kelleher continued to innovate. He opted for efficiencies rather than costly frills, like foregoing a computerized reservation system saving Southwest $25 million a year. He strove to instill a culture of service in his employees, insisting on better and friendlier customer support. He told his managers, "Quality customer support will result in additional profits and customer loyalty. Customer support will eventually take us to the top." CEO Kelleher often boarded flights, chatted with passengers, and asked for their feedback. He told them his company cared about what they thought. His brilliant ideas allowed Southwest to survive and thrive through a dip in the U.S. economy. But I've yet to mention his most incredible accomplishment. Kelleher's phenomenal success couldn't have occurred without his fantastic relationship with the employees. Working at Southwest Airlines wasn't only profitable, it was fun. Herb's spirit of friendliness and optimism became integral to the airline's culture. To maintain a lighthearted atmosphere, he appeared in various airline operation areas dressed as outlandish characters. Once he attended a board meeting in an Easter Bunny costume. He even boarded a flight in a stewardess's uniform. Other costumes included Elvis and a leprechaun, but his most ridiculous stunt was when he showed up at a maintenance facility at 2 a.m. and climbed a locked fence to surprise his mechanics, dressed as a hooker. Kelleher wasn't only a showman, he also cared for Southwest's employees. And though the rift between the Transport Workers Union and other airlines' management was venomous, Herb's union employees loved him. They knew he was on their side because he repeatedly proved it by how he treated them. Good pay avoided strikes and resulted in a positive environment. Southwest's optimistic tone translated into customer loyalty and higher profits for the airline. Herb once said, "When you treat your employees right, they'll treat your customers right." And even with its higher-paid employees, Southwest always managed to keep its fares low and profits high. While Herb was Southwest CEO, the airline never had a layoff, a furlough, or a pay cut. That was an unmatched feat, not just by other airlines, but also by anyone in the transportation industry. Kelleher was the heart and soul of Southwest. His tireless efforts, victorious courtroom battles, and brilliant strategies earned him the respect and admiration of everyone the company touched. His stockholders, employees, customers, and suppliers all loved him. In fact, the only people who didn't love him were his competition, but even they had to respect the man. Under Herb's leadership, Southwest Airlines was always a perennial choice for Fortune magazine's most admired companies list. Herb's dream of Little Southwest Airlines becoming a primary national carrier came true. At his death, the airline flew more than 120 million passengers a year, employing more than 58,000 people, and showed a profit since its third year in business. Now that's what I call getting Southwest off the ground. Never give up on what you really want to do. The person with big dreams is more powerful than the one with all the facts. H. Jackson Brown, Jr.
And we will talk about this story and all of the messages contained within as we continue here on the Real Impact series on Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan with Dennis Henson. And Dennis, I have flown Southwest many times. I'm sure you have as well. And I will say that there are two things in that story that I couldn't agree with more. Number one, his focus on the customer. And number two, his focus and his caring about his employees, the people who did the work that made him the CEO and made him the money.
Earlier in my career, I worked in the transportation industry as an on-site contractor. I worked at several different companies, big companies. And what I found that was that the rift between the management and labor was, I mean, it was terrible. They literally despised each other. They hated each other to the detriment of the company. I mean, if labor could hurt management, it didn't matter if it lost money for the company. In the same way, management, I mean, it was just terrible. So then then I got a position at Southwest. I live in Arlington. They had a facility, I believe, it was in Grand Prairie. And when I went there, it was totally different atmosphere. Everybody was friendly. They were nice. They didn't care that you were a contractor. I mean, they wanted to help any way they could. And it was so drastically different. So when I started writing this story, I really felt close to it because I had witnessed it, in person. So it was amazing what he was able to do to get people in that industry to work with him. And he even got the pilots to help clean the planes between trips. Can you imagine that? Getting the pilots to go out and clean the seats and pick up the trash and so forth. That was just, those airline pilots, they're kings. Yep. They don't have to do stuff like that. But at Southwest, they gladly did it because they got along so well. And later on, I mean, after Herb was gone, it changed. It's not that way anymore. But at that time, while he was there, it was a fun place to be around. And everybody there was having a good time.
Well, I know that in my times of managing individuals, because right now I really don't. I have one gentleman who is our part-time gentleman who comes in on a 1 day a week, and then he works a couple of days remote for a couple of hours. And we have a great relationship, and he has shown his support for me and what I'm doing, recognizing what my load is like, by giving me a heads up on this thing and that thing and the other. And I always thank him for the heads up. Always thank him. I can't tell you how much I appreciate what you're doing for me, because I could say, because I can't do it all. I only have one set of hands, and so I don't play that. I just thank him. I'm grateful that he's in my life and working for the same station that I am. And I really wish that there were more CEOs like Herb today. And I know that there are not. That's one of the reasons I really enjoyed that one television program, Undercover Boss. I mean, that is a heck of an eye opener for a CEO, for an employer, or whatever the position is, to go into the trenches where nobody should know him per se. I mean, it's usually the case. And he sees and hears what they think of him, maybe, if they even know who he is, or what they think of the company, what they think of their coworkers, what they think of the facility, the brick and mortar they might be working in, et cetera, et cetera. And I'll tell you what, there have been some of these gentlemen and women, I should say, they have had women also, shocked at some of the stuff. And there have even been situations where they go at the end and they have the people come in and right. You're so-and-so. And the person was just obnoxious and rude and this and that and the other thing. In some instances, they gave them a second chance. And in other instances, I think they were rare, they let them go.
Yeah.
They said, it does not appear that you're really going to make the transition to what we want for our company. And yes, your supervisor and or I are responsible. It's on us to that have allowed you to continue on in this way. However, unfortunately, we no longer need your services. Whereas what Herb was doing, and you said it too about the pilots cleaning the planes. It's like
Yeah.
they've been working hard for the entire flight. I don't care if it's from Santa Barbara to Phoenix, and that's just a little over an hour. And they'll stop and take another half hour or so to help the attendants. What do they call them today? They're not stewardesses; they're flight attendants. Yeah, that's right. To help to secure the aircraft. Now I don't know if they get out there on the tarmac and help them to fuel up the plane or not.
I don't think they did that. But well, back then, let's say 20 years ago,
Hmm.
it was just amazing. You could go into Dallas and get a ticket and be in the air. The planes left every 30 minutes from Dallas to Houston, every 30 minutes. So if you needed to get to Houston, there was no wait. You just walked in, got a ticket, got on the plane, went to Houston, and it's the same way coming back.
Hmm.
It was amazing how quickly they could turn things around.
Yeah,
And you didn't have a paper ticket, you had a plastic ticket. I mean, they reused the tickets.
yeah.
You would hand it to them and they would keep it, give it to someone else. So yeah, Southwest was a totally different airline than any. I flew a lot.
Yeah.
And when I would go to Southwest, it was just a totally different experience. And it was fast. You didn't have to wait. I love that part.
Well, I know that it's changed an awful lot, especially as far as the infrastructure. Now, the planes are pretty much the same. The flights are pretty much the same in terms of the distance and and so forth. The use of fuel and on and on and on. But we have the technology now for the customer to basically their boarding pass is on their phone or their tablet, what have you. They don't have to print it out, so they don't have to worry about all that paper. Um, but the thing that is missing in many instances is just that simple kindness that we could call it customer service,
Right.
and so forth. And one of the things that I have found, and I know that for example, another airline, Spirit Airlines, gets a lot of heat, a lot of humor, satire over the way that they have been. I don't know if they're still the way, and I've never flown Spirit, so I really can't speak to that. But certainly Southwest, it flies out of Santa Barbara, and I've even taken the train down to Burbank and flown out of Burbank to Phoenix because, believe it or not, that distance actually makes the fare cheaper, and the difference between that and the train ticket, it's still a good value to go take the train to Burbank. But that's one of the things that we do a lot of. And Herb was one who realized that, hey, this is going to be around and we need to provide the very best we can if we're going to compete. And what's fascinating to me, Dennis, he wasn't providing a product, he was providing a service, something that's intangible. And that's what made the difference in his day to the success of Southwest. And I wish that we could bring that back into the norm today. But boy, I tell you what, everybody is so self-centered in many, many ways, both on the customer side. And again, everyone's human that's running this whole show, even on the airline side. So it's a struggle, but that's to me why when I get on a plane, if there's a problem, I keep the energy low on the frustration side because that doesn't help. And I think Herb understood that.
Right. Well, what he did was triply amazing because it was the transportation industry.
Right.
That transportation industry, I mean, that union situation is really, really bad. I mean, it's ferocious.
Yeah.
I mean, it was hard to be around it in most cases. I mean,
Yeah.
I just dreaded going into a meeting or having any contact with either side. But then Southwest was totally different. I mean, it was like walking into a party or something, they were so happy and anxious to help you. Could I, if you need anything, it was just a totally different atmosphere. And it's unfortunate that more businesses, especially the big ones, um, transportation and other industries. Uh, when I first when I first was introduced, I'm just a Southern boy from down Alabama. I hadn't been in any big companies before, and I was working managing uh, housekeeping and maintenance in a big plant, and I was being trained because you had to go through a rigorous training to be able to manage that kind of thing. So some of our accounts were, some of the buildings were a mile long. That's how big some of the accounts were. So this place, they were making tanks, and the tanks were painted pink because they were fighting over in Egypt where the sand's pink. And so it'd just be a mile of pink tanks. But I was in the manufacturing facility, and I made the mistake of reaching down and picking up a piece of paper. And the person that was training me said, "Put that back down." And I said, "Why?" He said, "Because you'll get written up by the union. You're taking work away from the union, picking
Wow.
that piece of paper up." And so I thought, how unproductive.
Yeah. Yeah.
The company I was working with was getting paid a lot of money to manage making sure the place was clean and everything worked, and I couldn't pick up a piece of paper. So
Yeah.
anyway, that's just unfortunate that it's that way. But getting back to the story, Herb knew what he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
That's the point. And he was willing to do whatever it took, risk everything to get it. And he got it. He wanted to become a national carrier, and he did in spite of tremendous odds against him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's one of the interesting things. Sometimes those odds that we perceive that are against us, we've usually created them. It usually isn't an outside source or force, if you will. Usually it's our own mind saying we can't. And a lot of times because that's what we've been told over the years. And so we've bought it and we continue to carry that message with us forward into the present day. When the reality is, I know that Henry Ford's story is along these lines as well. If you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And that's where we end up getting stopped. And I know from my own personal experience in the present day, that I'm beginning to make a lot of shifts in my own mindset. I'm working. Hey, let me tell you something. I'm getting my mind right. I'm gonna tell you right now. I am getting just like Cool Hand Luke was supposed to get his mind right. But I'm not in a chain gang. But what I am in is I'm in a chain of people that are there to support me in terms of the inspiration, such as yourself, and people on the other side of the area there, other side of the line, who are there, who I communicate with and say, "Hey, we'd love to have you. I would love to have you on my program. I would love to have you as part of our family at the radio station. Love to have you do, this and that and the other thing. And let's see what we can do to make it happen." Whereas I think some years ago, if I tried doing this, it would be, um, I wouldn't say no, but I wouldn't have a lot of enthusiasm for that particular aspect of it. And I don't know if it has anything to do with getting older, Dennis. I really don't. Because I like to consider myself that I've always been a kind and considerate person. I do my utmost never, I hope I don't ever talk negatively about someone behind their back, as the phrase goes. And it's just a process that we're learning more and more. And I think it's partly because of the fact that it has diminished so much over the years. And here you and I are talking about this very thing that we're trying to bring back. And that's just the simple kindness towards oneself, towards others. But going back to obviously the main point, knowing what you want. And I'm starting to quote you to other people. I even used that analogy about, knowing what you want or where you want to go. And I said, I could have a roadmap in front of me, whether it's my phone GPS or a paper map that I got to fold. Hey, let's go. Well, where you want to go? Oh, I don't know. So what good's a map? So you got to know where you've said this, that's the analogy you use. So you got to
Right.
know where you want to go, then you can start putting that map to good use. So we ask you to stay with us. We're going to talk a little bit more about this story, certainly, and about other things related to this. I will tell you, though, Dennis, as much fun as I have flying, and I do love to fly, both commercially, and I've flown a number of times here in Santa Barbara in private planes, two-seaters even, an experimental plane. Now, who does that? Who gets into an experimental plane knowing what happened to people like John Denver, But I love the train. For me, that's the ultimate luxury, because not only can you eat, you can sleep if you have a car where you have your own bed and so forth. My favorite part is the meeting of new people. That is a lot of fun. In an airplane, you can usually only the person you're sitting next to,
Right.
if they're interested, Whereas you can move around, you can move around the train and find people that would be interested in chatting, and you find out more about them. They might find a little more about you as well. We're going to find out more about Real Impact, daily inspiration here on the Tell Me Your Story series with Dennis Henson and yours truly, Richard Dugan. We have been talking about flying high with Southwest, getting Southwest off the ground, and its owner at the time, Herb. What was his last name again?
Kelleher.
Herb Kelleher. It's fascinating to me why anybody would want to get into an industry that is so competitive. It is so challenging, and certainly the airlines is probably at the top of that list. The next level for me would be, why would you want to open a restaurant? My goodness, I've seen some of those restaurant programs where it's sometimes ferocious down there on the floor when you're trying to meet everybody's needs and there's somebody over there cranky and say, hey, the water's not cold enough or whatever it is. But people do it every day. They say, you know what? I want to do this. It isn't even about the challenges. This is and that's what Herb wanted to do.
Right. I'm finishing the book, The Laws of Nature for Success.
Mm-hmm.
The first law is the law of mindset. That's the first law,
Mm-hmm.
getting your mind right, which is what we're talking about. Yeah. And the first part of that law is having a definite purpose and a burning desire. You have to. It's kind of like the when life is formed, when the egg is penetrated and life is formed. Mm-hmm. When you put together a definite purpose and a burning desire, it creates a new life. It creates something that it's a thought, but everything that you see in front of you was once a thought. We're looking at computer screens. One day somebody thought, well, I need to make a computer screen. And here we're looking at it right now. Or it may be a desk, or it may be a car, or whatever you see that's man-made. At one point, it was just a thought in someone's mind that manifested in what you're actually seeing and feeling and driving or whatever.
Yeah.
And so Southwest Airlines was a meeting of three guys in a bar with a pen and a napkin.
That sounds typical. Yeah.
So they sat down and wrote on a napkin, here's what we think we should do. And well, then when you see those Southwest planes flying out of Love Field, that all came from that napkin. It all came from that thought process. Yeah. And someone took it on and took on the law of action and made it happen. So there's 7 of these laws, and I'm having so much fun writing this book. By the way, I got a new book up today, just uploaded to Amazon. It's called How to Get Started Investing in Real Estate.
Uh-huh.
So if anyone has an interest in real estate, that's a really interesting book. I'll tell you a quick side story. The guy that was doing the formatting called me because he had a question about the formatting. And I answered it, and he said, I'm reading your book, and I think I'm going to start investing in real estate. I thought that's great. He was all excited about it. So maybe it's a pretty good book. He liked it.
Well, that's wonderful. I'll tell you, folks, one of the places you can go, and I will tell you, I'll tell a little story here in a moment, to get a copy of Real Impact Daily Inspiration in the different formats available. Go to realimpactbook.com, scroll down to the bottom to the podcast attendees, click on that, and you can get yourself a free ebook version of the book. If you have unlimited Kindle, you can also have access to a free copy. There's also a link on that same page to a purchase, and there are special offers. And I'm going to tell you right now, I have coming my way a bundle. I have the hardcover version. I believe it's referred to as the deluxe edition.
Right.
And it came with, I believe it was the 7 Secrets of Success. And those 2 books are on their way to me as we speak. And I'm looking forward specifically, of course, to reading the 7 Secrets book. And then we will, I'm sure, talk about that down the road as well. But folks, you can get a hard copy, paperback, or Kindle by going to realimpactbook.com and clicking on that link to purchase a copy or get your free ebook through the 2 methods I just mentioned. And again, that's yes, sir.
And we're having a contest every month.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
It says that one of the lamps escaped from the front of the book, and it's on one of the pages. So you have to click on all the links. So if you can find the little lamp, it's a tiny little lamp that escaped from the book, and go up to where it says contact us, just send us a little email that said, I found it, and tell us where it is. Mm-hmm. Then you get the audio book copy for free, which is a $18 value.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's fun to play, and we have a new winner every month. So
absolutely. And of course, that's what they're hearing in each one of these programs. We're hearing a portion of that audio book. And by the way, now I know why I didn't find it, because I was looking all over that one page. I didn't click on the other pages. So there you go, folks. You got to click on all the pages to find that missing lamp. And we certainly hope that you'll do that. As we continue talking with Dennis Henson about the Real Impact Daily Inspiration series here on Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, along with Dennis Henson, and fascinating conversation we're having here in regards to not just getting Southwest off the ground, but getting your life's purpose off the ground. And that's going to take some time. I would have to say that from my standpoint, Dennis, my book, Choices, 5 Steps for a Life, the first step is make a choice. It goes right along with know where you want to go. Make a choice. Choose a direction. Go choose a destination. And once you've chosen a destination, enjoy the journey, because you're going to get there. We don't know how fast we're going to get there. And I'll be honest with you, Dennis, that comes to the plus A minus E. Plus A is have anticipation for the achievement of that goal, for reaching that goal. But subtract the expectation, meaning how you think it's going to look. And that doesn't necessarily mean, Dennis, I would think, that your vision and way you think, couldn't change along the way. I had no idea that when I put out to the universe, I want to live by the ocean, and I was wanting to do that for a long, long time. I didn't know that it was going to be Santa Barbara. I mean, I didn't even know where it would be. All I knew is I wanted to get to the ocean. I wanted to live close to the water. And now I am, and I'm very excited about that. And I never want to leave the ocean. And of course, my big dream and desire, along with my wife's, is to move to Ireland, live in Ireland. Well, guess what? You're not far from the ocean if you're on that island. It's not that big, So, I mean, you can get to the ocean from pretty much anywhere within a few hours, which is wonderful.
Well, that's kind of the There's a lamp on the front of the Real Impact Daily Inspiration book.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to know what the lamp means, go to realimpactbook.com, click on the first link, the lamp mystery, and listen. There's a little audio there, and it's also written out. But it talks about the parallel of the fable of Aladdin.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Aladdin would rub the lamp and it was magic, but he had to do something.
Yeah.
He had to say, this is what I want.
Yep.
He
Mm-hmm.
didn't get anything until he made a decision, like you said, in choices. He didn't get anything until he told the genie, well, I want this.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was able to get it. Well, it's that same way in real life. It really is. Once you decide what you really, really want and have a burning desire, and as long as you're working toward that, that's not work.
No.
It's fun. It's play, it's enjoyment, it's happy, it's success. So it's life changing.
Yeah.
And of course, there's other parts of the book. The book is going to keep you headed in the right direction because you want to form the habit of reading something positive every day. And that's what the book helps you do, form that habit.
Right.
But it makes you think every single day of what your ultimate goal is, so that you're moving in that direction. So it kind of keeps you focused.
Exactly. And it's interesting when you talk about, you say the book will keep you going in the right direction. And the reason I point that out specifically is because there are a lot of other books out there that claim to be inspirational and so forth. They want to guide you, but they're guiding you in a very specific direction, the direction that the author wants you to go and so forth. That's not what this book is about. It isn't up to Dennis. It's not up to him, the direction you go. It's entirely up to you. It's only the book that's going to help you, like you just said, keep you going in the direction you have chosen. And that's really important, especially in this day and age when we have so many people, and you've met them, you know them, you've seen them on TV and heard them in the news and everything and little actualities. They don't want anybody messing with their individuality. And you're not doing that. No. You're actually supporting their individuality when it comes to where they want to go. And then you begin to realize, okay, but the only way that I'm going to get where I want to go is I'm going to have to maybe talk to that person over there or that person over there. I may need to communicate to this group or this company to see what I can find out there. As a matter of fact, there's a gentleman that I was sharing with you before we started who is helping me to monetize and optimize my podcasts and so forth. And I'm passing his information on to you. And the gentleman is halfway around the world. And that's what you start to realize is it's my vision, it's my destination, but I'm not going to get there on my own. It's not like sailing around the world all by yourself in a sailboat. And even then you're not doing it alone because you're doing it with all of the people who built that boat that you are in, So it brings it full circle in my perspective, Dennis. It really does.
Well, I agree. It's amazing what will happen. I teach when I'm doing a seminar or teaching a group of people. I say, well, do you know what your purpose is? And maybe a couple of people will raise their hand, but usually about 90% don't really know their purpose in life. And I said, well, if you want to find it out, here's how to do it. Mm-hmm. Make a list of 20 things you're really good at, and then prioritize the list. Make a list of 20 things that you really would love to do with your life, and then prioritize that list. And then look at the top 5 and see which ones appear on both lists, which ones fit together, and whichever one it is. So last week, maybe it was this week, I was thinking, well, I'm kind of at a crossroads right now. I need to be doing something to bring in more revenue. What is it I want to do? And I thought, I'll do those 2 lists. And I did. And what I came up with is this. I need to do more public speaking. I need to do more keynotes. Okay, once I determined that's really what I want to do, the very next morning, I had missed a call that same day. The very next morning, I called the person back, someone I'd worked with for a long time. And he said, if I could get you professional speaking paid assignments, would you give me 20%? Now, this is a big, I mean, this guy's got a lot of reach. And I said, well, sure, sure. So 24 hours from the time I said, okay, here's what I want, I had someone with a lot of reach that's going to start finding. Isn't that amazing how that works? I mean, it's just staggering.
Absolutely. You put it out there, and it may sound a little strange. There is somebody that's listening. All right. And right. you can call it whatever you want. And we've often used divine intervention as a key phrase, of course. I am certainly not a believer in coincidence, but I am in coincidences, incidents that coincide. There was a wonderful television program with Kiefer Sutherland in it and this young curly-headed kid. I'm going to have to look that up to find out what the name of that show was because I want to remember that. And in the first 15 to 20 minutes, they told three or four different stories, totally independent of each other, had nothing to do with one another. And then as the hour wore on, slowly one story began to weave into the other, and then the third story into the first two, and the fourth story into the first three, until all of the sudden they came together to create something absolutely incredible. And that's how this life is. When you speak it, and you said this before on the program about words. I use the phrase, words have power. Well, guess what? Dennis is a prime example of the reality that they have power, and so am I. And it's just incredible. Hey, we're going to pause here. I want to remind you to go to, by the way, you want to get a hold of Dennis for a speaking engagement? Hey, go to realimpactbook.com. There is a link at the top there called Contact Me, and click on it and put your information in there, or his phone number is, ladies and gentlemen, his phone number is there. Now, am I sitting here doing an infomercial for DennisHenson.com? Not necessarily, but I have to be honest with you. We've had so much fun on this program and what we're doing that I just feel led to just say, hey, if you're looking for someone to come and inspire your group, regardless of what it is, please get in touch with him by going to realimpactbook.com. As we continue here on Tell Me Your Story, I'm Richard Dugan along with Dennis Henson, and he is the compiler of 50 years of quotes in Real Impact Daily Inspiration. We're going to get to those later on in the year. But Dennis, before we wrap things up here in the last minute or two, can you tell us, give us just a real quick rundown in regards to this story we heard of Herb and Southwest, and then that message that really rings true from this story?
I think the thing that stands out most is that Herb knew what he wanted, and he was willing to do whatever it took to get it. And he went through some tough times, but he enjoyed the entire process. I mean, he had a great time, and everyone around him had a great time. And if we have just a second, I want to make three wishes.
Okay.
I'm going to rub the lamp and have three wishes. One is, if you know someone that needs a speaker, a keynote speaker, do what Richard just said. Go to realimpactbook.com and click on and get in touch with me. And I'm not an expensive speaker. I'm very reasonable. The second thing is, I hope that you'll get your free ebook. And when you get it, you'll think of three people. It's almost time, maybe it is time for graduation.
Yep.
Kids graduating from high school, from college, or just maybe you want to give something to your niece or nephew or grandson. This is a life-changing book. It's something that they'll appreciate, something you can afford, and it's something that can really, really help their life move into a more positive direction. And the third wish is that if you've read a book, my book or anyone else's, that you will go to Amazon and look that book up and leave that author a 5-star rating, and then tell everybody else, I love this book because you will have made the author's day, and you will have helped other people find something that they'll probably really enjoy. So those are my 3 wishes.
Well, we certainly hope those wishes come true, and we certainly thank you, Dennis, once again for joining us here on the Real Impact series here on Tell Me Your Story. And we encourage those of you who are listening and or watching to continue doing so on YouTube, as well as SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, Blueberry, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, Amazon Music, a whole lot of other locations across the internet. We stream live at richarddugan.com on Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m., and Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. with a special Wednesday edition with Dennis. We're here on Wednesday mornings at 8 a.m. And as I said, we stream live at those times at richarddugan.com. Once again, the book Choices, 5 Steps for Life is available. There's a link on the homepage of richarddugan.com. There's also a link on the homepage of richarddugan.com to our PayPal account. If you'd like to leave us a tip, we'd greatly appreciate that. And any amount is welcome. We'll take energetic support as well. We also ask that you subscribe to these podcasts or video casts and click notification. That we ask you to do that with Dennis's work as well. We also ask to take time to go within to that quiet, peaceful, calm, still place. Listen to that still, small voice. That'll give you some guidance as well. And until our next broadcast, podcast, video cast, love to all. Jeanette, I'm still listening. Dad, continue to be happy because I am. Mike, thanks for letting me be in your life. Smokey, I'll see you on the other side. And to my dear friend Zorro, aho, aho.